Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining the webinar tonight, the Intro to SalonBridge webinar. The purpose of today's webinar is to go through the SalonBridge system with you guys and essentially show you the getting started information that is essential to using SalonBridge. So some of the information we go through today will be a little bit a little bit more sort of complicated, but the idea is that we focus on the basics. So if you do have questions, feel free to post it in the chat. If you are not able to stick around for the entire webinar, we will be sending this as a recording afterwards via email to you automatically once we're finished. So don't stress if you can't stick around. I'm going to start by sharing my desktop and then we can get stuck in. So let me share this screen with you. Okay. So what I am showing you here is the SalonBridge dashboard. And you'll see this when you log in for the first time or every time you log into SalonBridge. I'm logged in as an administrator, which means that you are essentially the owner or the boss. You get to see everything. You can make changes to everything. If you are working with multiple staff and you have a receptionist, you'll see me switch between the different screens here. So I'm now logged in as a receptionist, for example. So essentially the differences you'll see are subtle, but it really has to do mostly with the permissions of what each staff profile can do. So for example, a receptionist cannot make changes to services, retail products, but they can do things like run stock takes, do cash up reports. So let's jump straight in. I'm going to switch back to the administrator profile. And the first thing that I'm going to see here is the high level numbers. So this is going to show me the appointments made for this month, the new clients added this month, the retail products sold, and the projected revenue for the month. I'm also able to see an overview of my bookings over here. So this will show me the appointment numbers for the last 6 months, as well as today's appointments and today's retail sales. On the left is my navigation. I'm going to go through each of these items, but I'm going to get started by making my first booking. So I'll do that from the appointment calendar. If I click on the calendar, I get taken to the calendar where I can see the staff listed in columns with the time and the red line showing what the current time is. To make a booking, I would simply click under the staff member that I want to book for and the time. So I'm going to make this for, say, 6 o'clock. And I'm going to be presented with a new window where it's going to ask me for the details of the client. When I put in the client's information, I can do one of two things. So as I start to type in a client, you'll see that the system is going to go through my existing client database and it's going to prompt me to select one of the clients that I've already added before, or I've already had a booking with before. If it's one of these clients, I would simply just click on that client's name and the system will pre-populate their email address and mobile number. If it's a brand new client and they've never been here before, so let's say it's new client as a name, you'll see nothing appears as an option for me to select, in which case the SalonBridge system is going to detect that this is a new client and they will be added automatically for me. So let's put in a new client information. And I'm going to select a treatment that they're coming for. So let's choose, for example, a mini manicure. And you'll see that when I select that, I can change the staff member if I want to, and it will default to a 45-minute session. The reason that is because when I created the service, I specified that it takes 45 minutes to do. If this is going to take slightly longer or shorter, you can adjust it. You can also change the start time as you're booking it. I'm just going to click on the book button here to show you what this looks like. When I click on book, the appointment gets made and it will appear in the appointment calendar. And you'll notice that if I go back to the home screen now, this will also appear on the dashboard. So on the dashboard, here's my new booking. I can see the status is confirmed, who it's for, and what the client's name is. Going back to the calendar, if I want to move this appointment around, I can move my mouse to the top of the booking and I can click and drag it to a new time slot if I wanted to. And if I've done this by accident, I can just click on cancel. But if I'm happy to make that change, I'll just click on yes, change it. If I click on the appointment, you'll notice that it brings up the information about the appointment, such as who the client is, what their details are, who booked it, as well as the services that the client is coming for. If I want to make any changes to the service, I can click on this little edit icon, and I can change the staff, the service, the time and date, as well as the price, or apply a discount. I can also do things like delete that individual service, or I can add additional services to the appointment by clicking on the Add Another Service button. And when I do that, it's just going to ask me what the service is that I'm adding, as well as who it is for. If I've made notes about the client, I can click on this client notes section to view what those client notes are. Or I can click on this little magnifying glass next to the client's name, and I'll be taken straight to the client's profile to see their information as well. If I go back to the calendar, I can also do things like create a retail sale from the appointment calendar, as well as create a closeout. A retail sale in this context would be for a walk-in client. So an example is the use case rather would be I have the appointment calendar open and somebody walks in wanting to buy retail. I can either right click under the staff member's name who sold it, and I can select the new retail sale button, or I can click on this little plus icon in the top right hand side of my screen, and I can click on the new retail sale button. Then it's going to ask me who the client is that's buying the product, who sold it to them, and then I can select what product they're buying. I can change the quantity, the price, the discount, and I can click on the add item button. Once I've added the items that they're buying, I would simply click on create sale, and that's how I would do a walk-in retail sale. A closeout is a block of time where a staff member is not working. So an example of this would be a lunch break, they're off on leave, they are sick leave, as an example. So how would I go about doing that? The way from the calendar would be to either right click or click on that little plus icon and select the new closeout option. This will ask me for which staff member it is, as well as what the reason is. So I can choose from one of these default reasons that we have here, or you can specify your own reason. So if I just select lunch, I can make sure that the time is correct and click on the create closeout button. That'll create a little red square over here, which you can see shows that the staff member is not working. Whoever's managing bookings will be able to see that that staff member is not available. And for online bookings, we also take closeouts into consideration. So somebody's not able to book during a closeout, for example. If I wanted to add a payment for the appointment that I just made now, so let's assume that the client's now had their mini manicure and they've now finishing up. I can click on this booking and click on the Go to Account button. The account is like a bill or an invoice for that particular client. This will list everything the client has had that day. And it also gives me the opportunity to add retail sales if I wanted to their bill. So if I click on this Add Delete Retail button at the top right over here, I can add a product to their bill by clicking Add Item and hitting on the Save button. This will then add that retail product to the bill and show me what they owe. Now, to add a payment, I would simply click on the Add Payment button, and it's going to ask me how much the client's paying, whether there is a tip that they're giving or not, as well as what the payment method is. So here I can choose cash, credit card, gift card, complimentary, etc. I'm going to choose cash. These payment methods are customizable. You can add your own payment methods. You can remove certain payment methods. You can make certain payment methods the default one if you want to, and that's all done from the settings section. I'll get into that a little bit later. When I click on Add Payment, the payment will get recorded on the account, and you'll see that what was paid was equal to what the client owed. So the account has now been closed off. Now that this has been closed off, I can do things like email the client an invoice, SMS them an invoice, or I can print an invoice or a receipt just by clicking on any of these buttons over here. You'll be presented with a dialog button, and you can choose what you'd like to send on their account. If I go back to the appointment calendar, you'll see that this appointment has now changed to green, the color, and the status has been changed to paid. So this has now been closed off completely. So there's nothing owing on this anymore. This will also be updated on the dashboard under the appointment status as well. When I booked this appointment for the client, they would have received a notification message if I've configured appointment notifications to be enabled. So if I want the system to send out notifications for the appointments, this can be done from the settings section. But essentially, what it will look like is if I go to the client messages section, I'm able to see exactly what the system has sent out to my clients and when it went out. So in this example, there was a email and an SMS that was sent out. I can see what was sent by email. This is just the appointment confirmation message. And if I click on the SMS message, I can see exactly what the system sent out because I booked the appointment. Now, these notifications that the system sends out automatically, you can configure by going to settings and then clicking on client notifications. Here you'll see the appointment reminders, and you can edit any of these by clicking on the edit button, and you can customize what this text is that goes out. So for the create appointment SMS, for example, if you edit the appointment time, if you cancel an appointment, and also the appointment reminder, which goes out the day before or 2 days before or on the same day. You can configure this and you can specify at what time it goes out and what that message is. The system allows you to put in what we call filler words, which are these words within square brackets. These are dynamically changing words. So, for example, appointment date will be automatically replaced with the date and time of the appointment. We have a number of different filler words that you can use. Our knowledge base has an article dedicated to filler words, which will show you exactly what types of filler words you can use so that your message becomes a little bit more customizable. Other notifications that you can send out are things like thank you messages, comeback messages, and client birthday messages. Birthday messages will go out on the client's birthday if you've specified what their birthday is on their profile. A thank you message is a message that is designed to go out after the client has seen you or been for an appointment. So if you enable this and you specify this to go out the day after the appointment, the system will send this out to all of your clients that came yesterday. And you can specify what this message is. Some clients use it to ask for feedback, others use it as a simple thank you message. And it's up to you what you want to do with it, essentially. And the comeback message is designed to help eliminate no-shows or to address your clients that are slipping away. So if you have what you can do with the comeback messages, you can enable it and you can specify the frequency in which clients would typically visit you. So if you want your clients to visit on average once every 4 weeks, for example, you can specify the frequency to be 4 weeks, the time that it goes out, and the message that gets sent. The SalonBridge system will look for clients that have booked 4 weeks ago but have no further appointments in the future. And if that's the case, they are what's referred to as slipping away, meaning that they have been with you before, they're due for another appointment, but they haven't made a booking. It's time to gently remind them to come back. So this will encourage them to rebook with you, and this is automated as well. All of those messages are visible from the messages section, which I was there previously. Also under the client section is the view clients menu option. And this allows you to search for your clients either by their name, mobile number, or email address. Let's have a look here for the client that I just added. And if I click on any of these clients that come up, I'm able to see their information, their birthday, their contact details, as well as some statistics about them, their appointment history, their retail sales history, as well as any invoices that they have to their name. I'm also able to specify their booking status, whether they receive notifications, any information about them, as well as notes that will appear on their future bookings as well. So this is how you can view your client information from within SalonBridge. The invoicing section allows you to view the invoices that have been created from within SalonBridge. It also allows you to send quotations. So in this example, if I click on the accounts button, I can search for the client that I just created. And this allows me to quickly go back to the account that was created earlier on. So the reason that you would do it from the account section is if you maybe want to, let's say you're doing a cash up at the end of the day and you don't balance because you have made a mistake on one of the accounts, you can quickly access the accounts from the accounts section, go into the account, change or make the correction, and then rerun your cash up to make sure that you balance, rather than have to find the appointment from the appointment calendar. That is the purpose of that. And the quotes menu option allows you to create quotations for your customers and to send them as well. So I'll show you how this works. Let's create a new quote. It's going to ask me which client it is. And you'll see as I type the new clients that I was just created today, because they've now been added as an existing client, I can simply click on their name and I don't have to put in their details every time. And I can quote on multiple items or just a single item. So as an example, I'm going to choose to invoice them or quote them on a service and a retail product. So let's do the retail product first. I'm going to quote them on the oil-free wash for staff member 2, and I'm going to add that to the quote. Then I'm going to quote them on a service, which is the blow dry long service with staff 2, and I'm going to click on add item. Once I'm happy, I can just click on the create quote button, and this will create the quote for me, which I can then click on view to see the quote items. And I can also do a couple of things from the quote options button. I can send the quote via SMS or email directly to the client. So all I would do is click on email quote. It's going to come up with the client's information, and I can click on the send quote button. This will then send the client the quote directly so that they can view it from their phone or browser automatically. The gift card section allows you to view the gift cards that you have created within SalonBridge, as well as create new gift cards. So the purpose of creating it within SalonBridge is so that you're able to use them as a payment method later on when the client comes to redeem them. So if you were to create a gift card within SalonBridge, the SalonBridge system knows that that gift card is for a specific customer. And when you're adding a payment, you can choose gift card as a payment method and type in the gift card code, and the amount or that you're paying will be deducted from the gift card balance. So that it also allows you to then automatically keep track of how much the client has left on their gift card as well. So if I click on the list all button over here, this is going to list all of the gift cards that I have created so far. You can see who it was for, what the voucher code is, and the balance that's left on that gift card, the date that I created it, and the expiry date as well. If I wanted to create a new gift card, all I would do is click on the new gift card button. This is going to ask me again for the client's details. So let's put in the client that I created earlier. And I'm going to issue it for 1,000 Rand. The system will by default create an expiry date that is 3 years in the future. You can adjust this if you want to. The send via section here will allow you to specify whether you want SalonBridge to send this voucher to your client automatically or not. So if I just leave it as is, the system will create the gift card and it will send it electronically to this customer for me. The gift card code is a randomly generated voucher code that ensures that each voucher code is unique. You can change this if you already have a voucher that is printed and you'd like the system and your gift card code to match. But if not, you can just leave it as is, and that's also fine. When I click on create gift card, the system's going to create the voucher for me and take me to the account screen where I can now pay for this gift card. So just like before where I paid for the appointment, the process is exactly the same. The only difference here is that I'm now paying for the gift card, which will then be used as a redemption method later on for a treatment or a voucher. So once I click on the add payment button, I can choose how they pay. Let's say they paid with a credit card, and I can click on the add payment button. Like before, because I paid what was owed, the account gets closed off. And if I go to the gift card section and I search either for this client or I just click on list all, it will show me that this gift card has been created with this voucher code. And because I specified to have it be sent to the customer, they would have received this automatically as well. If a client didn't receive it for whatever reason, you are able to print it as well. This will simply create a PDF version of the voucher for you, which you can then either forward onto the client or you can print it in store and give it to them as well. The My Business section is primarily used for your setup information, but it also has a lot of important day to day operational stuff, such as your scheduling if you're a branch manager or administrator, as well as things like your stock take and your reporting functionality, especially if you are a receptionist or a branch manager and you need to do a cash up report. This is where you will do that as well. So, starting off at the business info section, this is where you would customize things like your business logo, your contact details, your bio, as well as your banking details that your customer will see, and your address. If you're VAT registered, you would put in your VAT number over here or your tax number, specify your VAT percentage if it's different, and your reporting will then automatically include your pricing, excluding and exclusive of VAT for you. The hours and scheduling section allows you to configure your core working hours. So, this is the hours that your business operates on. If you're open Monday to Sunday from 8 to 5, but you have staff members that work different hours, these are your business hours. So, this would then be Monday to Sunday, 8 to 5. For each staff member, you can then customize their individual working hours, and you can also schedule them to work in shifts through the scheduling functionality. So, for example, if I wanted to manage the shifts for my staff members, I can do this through the staff scheduling section. If I click on the schedule staff button, it will come up with a working roster for me on a day by day basis. I can see in green what the working hours are for each of my staff. If I go to tomorrow's day, let's say Wednesday, and I want to adjust the working hours or adjust the shifts for the staff members, I can do this either by clicking on their working hours if the staff member is not working at all, in which case it will simply close them off. If the staff member, let's say staff member 2 is working from 9 until 1, I can simply click and drag their working block to end at 1 o'clock. And I can adjust staff members 3 to start at 1 o'clock and finish off at 5. So, yeah, you can very quickly see what the working hours are for your business. And we allow you to make these changes on a day to day basis. But if you have regular occurrences of a specific day's schedule, for example, this configuration is the same every Wednesday for the rest of the month, what you can do is you can click on the copy button. This will copy the day's schedule, and then you can navigate to where you would like to apply that same schedule that we just did. For example, the following Wednesday, I just navigate there and I click on the paste button. This will then apply the scheduling that I have done or I have copied to my clipboard. And you can do this for multiple days. Let's go back to Wednesday the following week. I click on paste, and this will again paste the configuration that I had copied. How does this look on the calendar though? So let's click on the appointment calendar, and we'll see that if I go to tomorrow's day, the staff member that I listed as off is got one big closeout there. And staff member 2 now works from 9 until 1, and staff member 3 works until 1 until 5. So you'll see it grays out the areas that they are not scheduled to work for. And this will be the same for the following Wednesday as well, the 12th, because I pasted that working configuration. That is the hours and scheduling section. Services is where you will see the services or treatments that you have for your business. So they are grouped by categories. For example, male services, ladies' hair, gents' hair. If I click on any of these, you'll see that I can click on the specific service to make changes. If I wanted to change this clipper cut to be slightly longer by default, I can adjust that default service duration and just click on save, so that every time I book that specific service, it will automatically be 30 minutes long. Other things that you can change for a specific service, if I click on the Show Extra Fields button over here, I can adjust things like a transition time, a processing time, which is mostly applicable to hair salons. You can also specify whether this treatment gets done in a specific room or resource. If you want to automatically allocate it to a room or resource, you can do that. Whether you want it to show online for online bookings, and whether it has a recipe or not. Recipes are somewhat out of scope for this, but essentially the gist of what a recipe is it allows you to specify the units of professional stock that get used automatically for this treatment. So let's say this specific service uses 1 unit of base and conditioner. You can see I've specified this under the recipe. I can also add additional products here, and I can specify how much gets used. And what this then does is every time this treatment gets booked, this amount of specified professional stock will be deducted from your inventory automatically, assuming it's base in stock or back bar stock. You can adjust this on an appointment by appointment basis. So even if you specified a default recipe, you can still customize it for that specific client if they've maybe had a bit more color or a bit more toner or more conditioner or whatever professional stock product you've allocated to be a part of this recipe. It is simply a more convenient way to keep track of your professional stock rather than have to do it for every single client that comes in. You can also do things like add additional services from this specific screen. So if you bring in new treatments, you can specify the name, to which category it belongs, and some of the default information, and that then gets added automatically to your list of services. It will then also appear for your staff to book as well. The courses section allows you to specify courses. Courses are a way for you to track how many sessions a specific client has if they've bought a course of treatments. So if we take one of these examples, we have a course here called Gents Cut times 10, and it's for the Gents Cut service, and it comprises of 10 sessions, and the price is 2,000 Rand. The way courses work is you can create these courses that your customers can purchase. When a customer purchases a course, it gets allocated to their profile. So if I walked in and bought this Gents Cut course, for example, I can then come for a Gents Cut, and rather than have to pay for it, I can redeem one of the sessions which I have technically already paid for. And the system will keep track of how many sessions I have left. So this is useful if you do start to sell courses or you do already sell courses and you want the system to be able to keep track of it automatically for you. It will do that quite nicely. The retail section is where you can view and track your retail stock. So just like services, we group it into categories, which you can create or customize. Typically, this would be your product house. So in this case, it's Neutrogena. And I can see the products listed within this. If I click on any one of these, I'm able to see the product image that I have here, the stock code, the barcode, the name of the product, the category, which again I can change or add to a new category. I can specify the inventory level I have on hand, as well as the level at which I need to resupply this stock item at, and the cost price and selling price for this product. I am able to click on these items and make changes to my retail stock because I am logged in now as an administrator. If I switch to the receptionist profile, which I mentioned earlier on, and go to the retail section, you'll see that as a receptionist, I can still view the products and see what the price is, but I'm not able to see how much is on the shelf. This is to protect stock take. I'm also not able to click on any of these to make changes. That is reserved for an administrator or branch manager. So a receptionist does not have the ability to go and make price changes or to delete products. But they are able to use this retail options button in order to load a stock order. So when a new batch of products comes in from a supplier, or to perform a stock take. So if I click on the perform stock take button here, you'll see that it presents me with the product house or category. And if I click on that, I can, as the receptionist, specify how much quantity we have on the shelf or on hand. When I do this, so if I put in here, let's say 5, 6, and 7, and I click on the complete stock take button and say yes, proceed, the system is going to record that a stock take was done. It's going to record what the values were before the stock take, as well as what the values were after the stock take was done. It's also going to update the inventory that is on the SalonBridge system. So this is a way for you to do your stock take updates. So it will essentially update any quantity that you've input here into SalonBridge. So SalonBridge will then assume that this is how much you have on the shelf. It also will filter through to things like your various reports and your stock take reports as well. So if I switch back to the administrator profile here, and I just click on retail again, you'll see that these stock levels have been updated. And if I wanted to now view when stock takes were done, I can do that from the reporting section just by clicking on reports. And I can then choose retail report, and I can choose to see a stock take report. The date that I want to specify is from the 1st of October until today, just to see what's been done this month. And I can see that there was a stock take done today. This is the quantity that was done, that was available before the stock take was done. And this is what was loaded in the stock take. So you're able to see what stock takes were done when. The professional stock section allows you to do very much the same as what you can for the retail stock. The only real exception here is that the professional stock allows you to track your stock on a unit, mil, gram level rather than just a unit level. So what I mean by that, retail stock, you specify how many items of a specific product you have on the shelf, whereas professional stock, you can specify that you've got, let's say, 2 milliliters of a specific product. And the reason for this is that if you want to use this for your recipes within services, you can specify down to the milliliter level exactly how much gets used, so that it is a lot more accurate when you deduct the professional stock quantities for a specific recipe. The process for doing a stock take for professional stock is exactly the same as for retail stock. The only difference is that it's going to ask you, or it's going to ask whoever's doing the stock take, what the quantity on hand is, and it's going to be specific to each item, whether it's by unit, gram, milliliters, fluidic ounces, quarts, depending on how you've added it, essentially. And that is the professional stock section. The rooms and resources section allows you to specify rooms and resources that you have at your salon or spa. You can see I've got some examples here. As a room, I've specified a couples room, which has a capacity of 2, and room 1 has a room capacity of 1. Under resources, I've added a laser machine and a foot spa. Both have a capacity of 1 booking at a time. So what this does is when you start to use rooms and resources, when you allocate a room or a resource to a booking, the system will check if there are any conflicts or if there is availability based on the capacity that you have set. So if somebody is currently in room 1 and you try to book an appointment with a different therapist at the same time and choose room 1 as the room, it's going to show you an error saying that room's currently in use. So you'll need to book a different room or a different time slot ultimately. So it's just one other thing that we do to help prevent double bookings or awkwardness when a customer makes a booking with you. The forms section allows you to integrate one of our third-party applications, which is called JotForm, into SalonBridge. So this is a great way to use digital forms or to start to use digital client cards in conjunction with SalonBridge. So if you have the JotForm integration activated from the integrations section of SalonBridge, and you have digital forms that you've now created within JotForm, those will appear here in SalonBridge. And we will give you the ability to add the form's web address or the URL to your customer notifications. The reason for that is that if you add it to the customer notification, you can include it as part of the customer's reminder message. So let's assume, for example, that you have a consultation form that you need a customer to fill in before their booking. You can create a digital or electronic form within JotForm, and you can share that form's URL that we give you over here within the appointment reminder message. And SalonBridge will send that automatically to your customer the day before. They can simply tap on the link or click on the link. They will then be presented with the digital consultation form. And when they fill it in electronically, it will appear here as a form response. It will also link directly to the client's profile so you can view that client's form responses as well. We have an entire section within our knowledge base dedicated to forms and how to set this up. So if you do have questions about Jotform specifically or how to use the forms integration to tie into customers' profiles, I would recommend taking a look at that. It's a great resource just to kind of see how it works and if it's something that's going to work for you or not. The staff section is where you can view the staff under SalonBridge. So earlier, I've been switching between this profile, which is an administrator profile, and the receptionist profile, which has the access type of receptionist. If I click on any of these staff, I can make certain changes here. I can update their profile picture. I can update their contact details. I can also configure their commission if I wanted to change what commission structure they're on, whether it be a set percentage, a tiered percentage, or whether I want to specify specific percentages for individual services and retail products. I can do that here. I can also specify what type of access they have. So if they're just a regular staff member that accepts appointments, they would be an individual. If they're a manager, they should be a manager. And a receptionist doesn't get a booking column, but has the ability to view all appointment columns for the purpose of making bookings for all staff members. You also have the ability to specify whether a staff member can view the client's contact details. In other words, if they click on an appointment and they view a client's profile, do you want them to be able to see the client's phone number and email address or not? And if the answer is no, then you would make sure that this little tick box is unticked so that they cannot see the client's contact information. They'll still be able to see the contact details when they make the booking. Obviously, they need to load it for, if the client's giving it to them. But once that booking's made, they won't be able to see that information. The can log in tick box specifies whether the staff member has the ability to log into SalonBridge with their own permissions or not. So again, depending on what type of access they have, they will be somewhat limited in what they can do. But if you don't want to send them any login credentials at all, if you don't want them to be able to log into SalonBridge from the app or the web version, you can simply disable this can log in tick box and they won't be able to log into the system at all to view their own appointments. And here you can specify their custom working hours. So again, earlier I mentioned your core business hours, which you can configure on a staff by staff basis. This is where you would specify what that staff member's core working hours are. Once this is done, you can then go to scheduling and you can fine tune it if they're working shifts. This is just under the assumption that they're working during these hours, but you can book them off for certain other hours as well. To add a new staff member, you would simply click on the Add Staff Member button. It's going to ask you for their information, what services they can do, and once you've specified their level of access and their contact details and whether they can log in or not, you would click on Save, and that would then create the staff member for you automatically. The targets section allows you to specify targets either for the business or for a specific staff member. So we can see here I've created some targets for the month of September and August. If I click on the view button, I can see how close that person or that business was to achieving that target. Also, from the home screen, you're able to see those targets as well. So because I don't have any targets set up for the current month, there's nothing there. So if I wanted to create a new target, I would simply click on the Set New Target button. I can choose whether it's for the business or for a specific staff member. Let's say it's for staff member 2. I can specify what this target is for. You can set multiple targets. So you can set a target for services, target for retail, target for courses, or you can just specify just for services or everything combined. The date range is going to default to the current month, which again, you can change if you want to. And yeah, it's going to ask you what that target is, the monetary value that they need to bring in order to accomplish that target. So if I make this something, 5,000 Rand, for example, I can click on Save, and the target will be created for me. I can see it over here for staff 2. If I click on View, it's going to show me how much the staff member has generated in comparison to their target so far for the month. It does take into consideration future dated bookings and projections as to where they are. So this may fluctuate up and down depending on cancellations or whether bookings come in a bit later. But you can kind of see how close they are here. Similarly, if I log in as the staff member, I'll be able to see this on my dashboard. But as an administrator, on the dashboard, I'll be able to see the targets for the month as well, so that we're in. So because we're in the month of October, I can see all of the targets that I've set for this month straight from the dashboard. Moving on to the reporting section, we offer a wide range of reports that you can use. I would generally encourage you to go through some of these reports in your own time and kind of see what reports are important to you in your business. What do you need to track on a regular basis, a daily, weekly, monthly basis? I would encourage you to look at things like your appointment report, your sales and revenue report, and your payments report. This will show you key information about your appointments. For example, if I look at the standard appointment report for the last month, I can view the number of appointments made, when we're most busy, when we're the quietest, when clients are coming into the salon or spa, when they're not. And this is a good overview as to just what you're doing. The sales and revenue report will show you from a financial standpoint how the business is doing. So if I choose a standard report, which is just sales and revenue report for the last month, it will show me day by day what the business did on services, on retail, on courses, on gratuity, on gift card sales with my total figures. So you can kind of see which days are quiet, but you can also see what the business has generated over the date range that you've chosen. You can take that one step further for sales and revenue and group it by staff. So you can now see not only for the business, but for each staff member, what they did on services, retail, courses, what they brought into the business. So you can kind of match this up with their targets if you have set overall targets and you want to see how that's broken up as well. And lastly, you can see something like the detailed staff breakdown, which is going to show you staff member by staff member, but it's going to show you the individual line items on how we got to those totals. So the exact services that were done in that date range to get to that total, who they saw, what they did, and what price that service was done at, or at what price the retail item was sold at, how many they sold to a specific client. So also quite useful. All reports you can view on screen, or you can download an Excel or PDF. The other report that I mentioned earlier is the payments report. And this is really just going to show you a breakdown of all payments that have been made over that date range. We group it by the payment type for you. So you can see here it's grouped by credit card, cash, with the totals at the bottom. And we give you a graphical breakdown as well, so you can kind of see what's more popular. The last report type that I would also want to touch on here is the cash up report. So at the end of the day, your staff members, your receptionist, your branch manager should be doing a cash up report. And the purpose for that is so that you can make sure that you balance for the day. To balance for the day means that the amount of payments that came in have matched what you have rendered in services or sold in retail. So if you've sold 5,000 rands worth of retail and you've done 5,000 rands worth of services, you should expect that your clients have paid 10,000 rand for those retail products or services. If they haven't, then you don't balance for the day. And then one of two things has either happened there. You've either not logged a payment, or you've either not canceled an appointment, or you've maybe rung up a product that you shouldn't have. But this allows you to kind of keep your finger on the pulse on a day-to-day basis to make sure that you're not going to get any surprises in 2 months' time, where all of a sudden the amount of stock on hand doesn't match what's in SalonBridge, or you don't get a case where you're paying salaries and a staff member says, I did this service, but it's not actually in SalonBridge. It kind of just alleviates all that problem. So let's switch to a receptionist profile quickly, and I can show you what a cash up report looks like. So at the end of the day, the receptionist is going to go to reports, and they're going to click on cash up report as the report type. They're going to ensure that the day is set correctly for the day that they're doing the cash up report. And they can specify if it's on screen or Excel or PDF. That doesn't really matter. But if I click on generate report, the receptionist is going to be asked for the totals that they have for payments. So this will be how much cash is in the till, what is the total on my credit card slip say, that sort of thing. So if credit card, I've got, let's say I printed my credit card end of day and I've got 1,000 Rand on credit card slips. And cash, I can't remember how much the cash payment was, but let's assume that I've counted 500 Rand out of the till. And I click on Save Cash Up. What this will do is it's going to tally up what's happened for the day. It's also going to compare it to what I've put in here and show me if I'm over or under. At the same time, it's going to email the administrator or you the cash up report that's just been done. So you can see when your staff members have actually done it. So here we can see a breakdown for the services sold. That was 250. Retail was 650. Gift cards were 1,000, totaling 1,900 Rand. And I can see under payments that in SalonBridge, I logged 1,000 Rand under credit card, 900 Rand in cash. Yet I inputted 1,000 Rand credit card, 500 cash. So somewhere I've recorded 900 Rands in cash payments, but I only counted 500 Rand in the till, which means I am under by 400 Rand. So now I need to find out why that is. Maybe I didn't count correctly, or maybe it's a case where something was inputted that shouldn't have been. So how do we get to these totals here that you see that differentiate or dictate whether you're over or under? You can simply scroll down and we show you a payments breakdown, exactly how we got to these totals. So you can see under the payments breakdown, here is how I got the 900 Rand cash, and this is how we saw the 1,000 Rand credit card payment. Maybe this payment was inputted incorrectly, in which case I can simply go to this account, to the account section, put in this account ID, and I can make the correction so that I balance on my cash up. But I'm also able to see things like the employee breakdown for the day and the payments breakdown. If I don't balance, what I'm able to do is what's called a recon cash up report. So I simply choose detailed breakdown recon, make sure the day is correct, and click on generate report. This is going to show me line by line each client that came in and what they purchased. So I can see here there was a gift card purchase for 1,000 Rand, and I can see next to it is the payment that's been recorded for this specific line item. These two match, which means that everything should be equal. If I scroll down here, I can see that this client came in and bought a Hydro Boost gel and had a mini manicure, totaling 900 Rand. And there was a 900 Rand cash payment recorded. So if I counted my cash in my till correctly, and I only have 500 Rand cash, it means that possibly this transaction was recorded incorrectly, and maybe they didn't buy this Hydro Boost gel for this amount of money. Maybe it needs to change to 250 Rand, or they bought a different product. But at least I can see now how we got that 900 Rand cash payment, essentially, by doing the cash up report. If you're wanting to see the cash up report be emailed to you as the administrator, you can configure that from the settings section by going to settings and then going to general settings. And you'll see that there is a section here under business settings called enable advanced cash ups. That should be on. And the email address here is where the cash up reports will get emailed to when a staff member does the cash up report. We also send weekly summary emails to the administrators. So if you are loaded as an administrator on the system, we will send an email every Sunday morning showing you a summary of the number of appointments, revenue generated, SMS credits you have left, new clients added during that week. So it gives you a nice little overview of how the week has been, and that's done every Sunday morning. You can either turn that on or disable it completely. So that was the report section. Under loyalty, loyalty is where you can add a loyalty program for your business. So if you want to start issuing loyalty rewards to your customers, this is where you would enable it. So you can see I've got a loyalty program configured here. This has a reward threshold and a reward amount value. So these are the two amounts that we look at when issuing rewards. When a customer has spent the threshold, which is this amount, they will be rewarded with this amount. That is how you differentiate between reward threshold and reward amount. To create a new loyalty program, you would simply click on the Create Loyalty Program button. You shouldn't really have more than one loyalty program running at a time. I'm yet to see a practical example where that makes sense, but it's not impossible. But just as a rule of thumb, you shouldn't have 100 loyalty programs running. That's a recipe for over issuing on your clients, just as a rule of thumb. So you would give it a name here. Let's say my loyalty program. When it needs to start. So you cannot backdate a loyalty program, but you can have it start in the future. You can specify what you would like to issue loyalty on. So you can either issue loyalty for visits, meaning every time the client comes in, or for the amount that a customer actually spends with you. I would encourage doing it on spend. It just ends up being a bit more fair. If you issuing the same amount of loyalty for visits, you run the risk of giving the same amount of loyalty to someone who comes for a really inexpensive treatment and giving the same amount of loyalty to someone who really spends a lot but only really visits once. So if I come in for a brow wax, which let's say costs 50 Rand, and I get the same amount of loyalty as somebody that comes in once but has a full head of highlights treatment, it tends to outweigh a little bit. So we tend to see that the more popular option is to issue on the amount spent. This is typically a percentage based. So if you decide that you want to reward your customers with maybe 5% as an example, you can configure this here. So let's say I want to issue on services and retail. It's just going to look at how much they spend on these items. And I can specify the reward threshold, example, how much they need to spend before they get any Rand value back. So in the example that I just used, I want to give them 5% back. So in this case, I would simply do something like this. And this can be your own figures depending on what you want to set up. But I'm going to make it that they have to spend at least 100 Rand. And when they do that, for every 100 Rand they spend, they're going to get 5 Rand back. So that equates to 5%. As an example, the wording is slightly different. So rather than say get 5% back, you could say for every 100 Rand you spend, you get 5 Rand back. It's exactly the same thing. The system will then track what each client is spending at the end of the day and allocate the rewards to their profile automatically. So if, for example, I go to a client's profile here, let's have a look at my actual profile, and I click on it, I can see that I have spent 13,000 Rand so far, and I've got 400 Rand worth of loyalty. So you can see this is what I'm able to use in order as a redemption method. So when you're on the account screen and you're adding a payment, you can choose loyalty as a payment method, and the payment amount will come off of the client's loyalty balance. So that is how you create a loyalty program within SalonBridge. From the reporting section, you can run reports to see what loyalty has been issued, who it's been issued to. So all of those reports are available from the reporting section. The marketing section allows you to create bulk messages that go out to your customer base. So if you're wanting to send out a message blast via text message, you can create a marketing campaign here. You can give it a name. Irrelevant, doesn't really matter what it is, but it's just for reporting purposes, it makes sense to let's say it's a spring special, and the message text that you actually want to go out. So the only thing I would say here is that just be wary of the character count limit. So if you specify between 0 to 160 characters, it's going to cost you 1 SMS credit. If you specify between 161 to 306 characters, you're going to be charged 2 SMSs per message. That works on character limit. The other tip I would specify here is just be reminded to specify what your business name is. If you're just going to send out a message via text, it's not going to be obvious to the client who it's from. So I would do something along the lines of, my salon name. Something like that. That makes it kind of obvious so that it's just a lot more easy for clients. And then, you can always specify the number that they can contact you on. You can specify an opt-out message, all that sort of stuff within here. And then you can schedule when this goes out. So you can choose what date it goes out as well as the time as well. And then lastly, to which clients it goes out to. So whether it's all of your clients, clients that have appointments within the last month or 2 months, last 60 days, last 90 days, all that sort of stuff. You can configure to who it goes out to. That is how you can send out a message to all of your clients at once. The online booking section is where you can configure your online bookings page or learn how you can embed this directly in your own website. So with online bookings, you are given a link that you can share with your customers or on your social media channels. And this will allow you to accept online bookings this way. You can also specify a cancellation policy, and you can specify how soon you want to allow customers to be able to book. So if you make it same day, they can go on to online bookings right now and book for today still, if you're still open, obviously, and if you have availability. When online booking takes place, we send you a notification that the online booking has happened, and it will appear in your calendar automatically as well. Online bookings can work quite nicely with integrations such as PayPal, PayFast, Yoko, online credit card integrations. If you want to start accepting booking deposits, so if you want to accept a 50% booking deposit, you can do that by adding or enabling one of the online credit card processing payment gateways. And when you do that, you're able to specify from online bookings what that percentage is. You can also start to do things like selling gift cards or your retail products online as well, which is also really a no-brainer. It's a really great way to enhance your sales online as well. And you can also enable some of the other options from the integration sections this year, such as the JotForm integration, which I touched on a little bit earlier, which is your online digital form builder. And Zapier, which is a automation workflow process that allows you just to create automation. So you can, for example, within Zapier, you can customize a workflow so that whenever an appointment happens within SalonBridge, it does something. Or whenever a payment is recorded within SalonBridge, it does something else. You can configure all of that. That is integrations. Settings, we have touched on a little bit. We just went through some of the general settings earlier. So this is where you can configure your advanced cash ups. You can also customize some of the calendar settings. For example, whether you want to force phone numbers and email addresses when a booking is made, as well as whether you want it to automatically refresh every minute. The payment methods is where you can remove certain payment methods from the account screen and also add your own payment methods. So, for example, the default currently is card. If I wanted cash to be the default selected payment method when I make a payment, I would simply click on this and I would toggle the default switch and click on save. This then makes cash the default payment method for me. You can also add your own payment methods. If you've, choosing, if you're accepting a payment method we don't already have here, you can simply just add your own one and that'll then become available to you. Your billing info is where you can see things like your historical invoices. You're also able to see what package you're on with SalonBridge, and you can also update your debit order details. If you're still in trial mode, this is where you would activate your account. So if you go to the billing info section, there's going to be a button here that says activate my account. And it's going to ask you for your billing information so that you can activate your account immediately. Client notifications, we touched on a little bit earlier. So I went through all of the different notification types. You can also edit your email notifications under the email settings tab here. So you can customize what these emails look like. And then lastly, your login details is where you can change the email address and password that you use to log in to SalonBridge with. I can change this by clicking on edit. I can also update my profile picture and I can change my password as well. That is everything for the intro to SalonBridge session. We've actually done it in just under an hour, so we're really good for time today. One thing I will finish off on as well is that if you do have questions as you go, I would strongly recommend going to our knowledge base or making use of the live chat functionality, either to start a chat with one of our support team members or to go through our knowledge base as well. So here's an example. If I click on this little chat icon at the bottom left, It's going to open up a chat window with me where I can either send a new message to the support team. I can also search for knowledge base articles myself. I can register for a future webinar, or I can go to the SalonBridge Help Center. If I just click on that, it's going to take me straight to the help center or the knowledge base, where I can click on certain categories. For example, packages, courses, retail. Let's click on retail, for example. And let's say I wanted to teach my staff or just brush up on how to do a stock take. I can see that from the retail section. So there is a how to perform a retail stock take. I'll click on that. And there is an article here showing me step by step exactly how to do a retail stock take and what that basically means. So, super useful resource. I would recommend going through it in your own time. But if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us either by giving us a call or by using the live chat functionality. Otherwise, thank you again so much. Again, this will be emailed to you afterwards, and you will be able to access the recording as well if you weren't able to stick around. Otherwise, have a fantastic evening, everybody. Thank you so much.